Hey guys, Dr. Jason Torado, and in just a moment, we're going to talk about what is the successful PVA that most successful chiropractic offices maintain. So let's just get started on that. If you don't know what PVA stands for, it stands for patient visit average. That is the number of visits that you get throughout the entire course of care in a typical patient. And the reason why this is a good topic to talk about today is because whenever I do strategy calls, I get a lot of doctors that ask me that exact same question, and it could be from brand new doctors to doctors that have been around for a long time to doctors that have been, doctors that are kind of like in the middle of their career. Also, it seems as if this magical statistic PVA that was probably created by some Larry Markson or Jim Parker or somebody way back when, it seems like this PVA or this statistic is really, really common and stuck in the brains of a lot of chiropractors. I don't even know if they teach that back in chiropractic school. But I know that most chiropractors that I talk about, whether it's be it at a seminar or when I do strategy sessions, they always talk about PVA, and what PVA should I be at to really maintain a truly successful chiropractic practice. And the reality is that PVA is absolutely not important at all. I mean, it's just something that is not important. It's not something that has a dramatic effect inside your practice, because a lot of people think about, that patients, the types of patients that come inside your office are different, meaning your personal injury patients are different than your work comp patients, and your work comp patients are different as your cash patients, and your cash patients are different as your Medicare patients, and Medicare patients are different. The PVA should be different from the insurance case patients. You see, you really can't look at these types of cases differently, meaning your PVA should really be the same in your brain for all of them. Meaning these cases that come in shouldn't really have more value than your typical cash case. What I mean is, I get on the phone with a lot of doctors, and they'll usually say, well, you know what, I want to get more personal injury cases because that's my bread and butter. That's where I really make a lot of money in my cases, right? But the reality is that you should make the same amount of money off of a personal injury case as you do over a cash, a person that's coming in paying cash. And I'm not talking about charging different prices. No, I'm not talking about that at all. But what I am talking about is throughout the length of care that you have with your cash, with your cash case, the money that comes in from your cash case, the same should occur with the personal injury case. In other words, the money that you make on these cases isn't something that you make quickly, which does happen with personal injury cases. Really, the bulk of your money with the majority of your cases should come throughout the course of the entire length of the care. And so the real money, I guess, let's talk about money for a second. The real money in your business is not necessarily about PVA. It's not really about getting these long-term healthcare plans in, or these practice, or these personal injury cases, or these work comp cases. The real money is in actually retaining these cases. So, for example, you can have a personal injury case where you might make a few $1,000s in, let's say, a few months of treatment. But you can do the exact same thing with a cash patient throughout. You can make the same amount of money throughout the long term, or the entire duration of the treatment that you provide to that patient. So the money really isn't in your getting the patient and giving them a long-term care plan, and they're there for a few months and then that's it. The money really is, and the money isn't, and that would apply in a prepay case, that would apply in a work comp case and a personal injury case. I mean, when you look at that, it seems like it's really easy money. I'm going to make it really quick, but the real money is in the long term. You see, that's what where you really that's where most chiropractors, where successful chiropractors really differ from chiropractors that just kind of break even or just kind of plateau in their practice. You see, the successful chiropractors realize that all patients that come in or all cases are basically worth the same. Because when they look at a patient that comes inside the office, they don't look at how much money I could make within the short term through a personal injury case or a work comp case or offering them some type of a care plan. What the successful chiropractor does is he looks at that patient in the long term, and they realize inside their brain that over the long term, if I provide great care, if I provide great if I nurture my relationship with them, that patient is actually going to come in for a long term and I'm talking years of care. And during that time, while they're in my care, as long as I don't mess up, that patient is more than likely going to refer more people like themselves. And so when they look at that patient, they look at that patient as being able to have the ability to bring in thousands of dollars by nurturing that relationship, by providing a great service. And that's how they look at every single patient that walks inside the office. They look at it not through a quick fix and quick acquisition. They look at the patient and with long-term in mind, meaning patient retention. And think about that for a second. How much money would you have inside your bank account if every single patient that walked inside your office never left? They just stayed. And you see, that's what you can do if you have proper, and that's what you can do, and that's how you should look at your patients, because that's how successful chiropractors look at their patients. They look at their patient as if they're going to with nurturing that relationship and providing a great service. That patient is going to come and that doctor is going to retain that patient over the long term. And that's how they look at patients. You see, the money isn't really in just the quick buck. It really is in the lifetime treatment of that patient and how much money that patient will eventually generate inside your office. And so you have to understand that these things don't occur without having things like providing a great service, things like nurturing that relationship. And also things like having systems in place in your office to be able to keep that patient happy and to be able to communicate with that patient. And that's the reason why I created the Practice Accelerator, because there was nothing really out there that was helping me in nurturing my relationship with my patients. And so that's why you have to realize that the best way to really leverage your time is not to only work on your patients, but it's also on doing things once and having systems where you can do things once and do things over and over and over and over and over again. Right? Those are called putting systems on autopilot, or it's also called putting things on evergreen. Those are things where you just do something once and over and over and over again. It just happens automatically, and that's what Practice Accelerated does. We do things like newsletters on a weekly basis. We send out text messages for you. We send out postcards for you. We update all of your social media sites for you, and on and on and on. There's like such a whole lot more. And so you have to understand that anything that you can do or use that just kind of takes the thinking out of the normal day of you having to anything that takes away you having to think about something is always going to enhance your business. It's always going to enhance your practice. And you have to understand that having automated systems inside your practice that are just happening in the background, that are doing things like nurturing your patients and creating a better experience for your patients, is always going to be extremely, extremely powerful. So that's what the key points that I want you to think about today is that every single patient that walks inside your office, you should really look at them the same. Meaning you should be focused on retaining these patients, not on just getting a quick fix on these patients, because your money is really made in retaining that patient and nurturing the relationship with that patient over the long term. And I don't want you to misunderstand me. That doesn't mean that you should force patients into long-term care. That doesn't mean that you should, sell maintenance plans, because that just turns off patients. It really does. But you should have systems in place that do things like ask for referrals. You should have systems in place that actually educate a patient, and you should have systems in place that really are put in place that help nurture your relationship and stimulate your patient to want to continue to come to your office through over time. Those systems should run in the background on autopilot, and that's what really increases your PVA. That's the most important thing. If you're really going to look at statistics inside your office, and I don't want to get off the track here, but if you really do want to look at a very, very vital statistic inside your office, you should be looking at the percentage of patients that are, the percentage of your new patients monthly that are being referred in by other new patients. Because if you are at 85 to 90% or higher, then you know what? You're doing something really well. You're doing something really, really good. But I want to warn you that if your only way of building your practice is word of mouth, and you don't have all these other systems in the background like I just talked to you about, then you know what? That's not a good way to build a practice. That's not a good way to build a business at all. There's got to be other systems in the background that help build up your office internally and externally. That's about it for today, guys. I'm Dr. Jason Tirado. If you like this message, I want to ask you to please click below and like that message, because the Facebook algorithms basically take a look at that and they push it out to more people. And if you really do like this message, and you think that someone else could really benefit from it, then I want to urge you again to go out there and please share this message with somebody out there that might be able to learn something from it. I'll talk to you guys later.